Death by lightning fulfills the promise made at the beginning, but there are still many unanswered concerns about what will happen next and what it all means. The life and administration of James Garfield, the 20th President of the United States, are examined in this drama miniseries, along with his passing, which reduced his tenure to less than a year. Due to his brief tenure, Garfield's legacy seems to have faded and been forgotten over time, and his passing has somewhat eclipsed it. But Death by Lightning does a fantastic job of both bringing Garfield's narrative to life and delving more into the mind of Charles Guiteau, the guy who contributed to his demise. The first episode of Death by Lightning makes it very evident that the show is about James Garfield and Charles Guiteau, the man who shot him. Charles Guiteau shoots President Garfield twice in the penultimate episode, and the finale delves further into the consequences of this pivotal meeting. Garfield's condition is first unclear, but it appears that he is getting better. The president survived for a few weeks following the tragedy, giving his wife and family time to congregate around him and receive more medical attention. However, Garfield's wound became infected and he eventually passed away as a result of a careless physician who refused to consider theories of germs and contamination. Charles Guiteau was hung for his attack on the president after his death, but while he was inside, he exhibited highly strange behavior, including asking the media to interview him and mentioning a book he planned to publish after his passing. However, Garfield's widow makes it very evident that his book will never be published and that his legacy will diminish when she pays Guiteau a visit while he is incarcerated. Naturally, Charles Arthur, Garfield's vice president and frequent adversary throughout the series, had a change of heart after witnessing Garfield's grace and kindness in every circumstance, and went on to succeed Garfield. A lot of historical dramas misrepresent their stories. Nonetheless, it seems that a large portion of what is depicted in Death by Lightning is true to the events as they actually occurred. Of course, there are private discussions that take place, like the one between Mrs. Garfield and Guiteau, which cannot be confirmed, but the events that transpire are true. Guiteau did shoot Garfield twice in a train station, and it is thought that the infection that developed as a result of his doctor's attempts to heal the wound ultimately killed him. Garfield was succeeded by Chester Arthur, who implemented a number of the initiatives Garfield had started. However, there are a few inconsistencies between fact and fiction that elevate this account of events into something more dramatic and suitable for entertainment. Chester Arthur survived Garfield, and due to his position as vice president, he did end up taking over as the president. Since this was one of the first instances of this happening, there was no set procedure for the handover of power or a mechanism of installing a new vice president prior to the subsequent election. Chester thus did not have a vice president during his whole term. Regarding how good of a president he was, he has received equal parts acclaim and mockery. The Democratic Party won for the first time since the end of the Civil War during Arthur's presidency, which would suggest that his campaign sparked a desire for greater change throughout the United States. In reality, Charles Guiteau published an article named Truth to provide his perspective on the assassination, which is the book mentioned in the series. It was published, but it doesn't seem to have had much of an influence. For the most part, the scene where Guiteau and Mrs. Garfield meet in the prison seems to be made up, only to emphasize the point that Guiteau's actions harmed Garfield's legacy, but he would not be remembered as a result. Although this scenario in the show is powerful and poignant, it is not based in reality. Comparing the divide and corruption in government that are revealed in Death by Lightning to the current situation is fascinating. Beyond that, the historical miniseries emphasizes morals and legacy. At the conclusion of the series, both Garfield and Guiteau pass away, and their legacies are influenced by one another. When the show opens with Guiteau meeting the president and expressing his love and adoration, it connects the history of these two characters. But when the meeting doesn't go as planned, Guiteau takes a drastic turn in an effort to preserve his legacy for future generations. Garfield, on the other hand, is shown as a modest man who doesn't seek fame for himself, but rather wants to change the world and demonstrate to others that there are alternatives to accepting dishonest and ineffective governments. As a political drama, it effectively conveys an uplifting look at how much of a difference one individual can make and has a strongly political message. However, by showing this fact on both sides, it also emphasizes this point. One man has the power to inspire millions of people and transform the entire country, but he can also destroy progress and wreck a legacy. The conclusion of Death by Lightning is ultimately thought-provoking, since it aims to leave viewers considering this message. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe.